Really looking forward to this chat. Our next guest runs a company that had more than 20 of their studios closed during the pandemic. Manuel Campos is the CEO of Celebrity Ink, and he joins us live right now. Hello, Manuel. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really, really well. I know we tried to get you on last week, so thanks so much for getting back on. Really appreciate your time. Firstly, tell us about your experience, because you've had a whole range of experience in the mining sector, construction, engineering, and now in working for Celebrity Ink and heading up their operations. That's quite an experience you've had.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I lived in Western Australia for a few years, so I was very much involved within mining and mining services businesses there, consulting, CFO, external CFO, and yeah, moved to the Gold Coast here in Queensland, and then worked in listed companies, again CFO and other management roles, and then started my own business. Was external CFO for this business and was asked to become the CEO, and I took on the role.
Yeah, great. I might just get you to move up a little bit closer just to get your audio, just to improve that. Perfect. Thanks so much, mate. Let me know, in terms of you guys have had to deal with all of these challenges. What do you think businesses can do to take better control of some of these really difficult situations like COVID-19?
Look, what we did at Celebrity Ink, the first thing we did when this kicked in was to set up a few different scenarios that were robust across the different things that could happen with COVID-19. We couldn't really know what or be 100% sure what will happen, but and we went down the path of running waste audits with all of our franchisees, and that pretty much in summary is, let's look at your financials. Let's look at if you have any waste in your financials. And sometimes when sales are rolling and everything is going well, those things get hidden between the good sales and the good results. So it was a good opportunity to do that, to make things more efficient and to look at where there was waste in the businesses. Then the second step we took was, all right, what things can we, what costs can we reduce or minimize or even freeze completely until we know what's happening, until we're allowed to reopen. And at the same time, when we were shut down, we used it as a great opportunity to improve systems and processes. We are a business that grew very rapidly, and it was a good time for us to get up to speed with our systems and processes, and we help franchisees in that sense as well.
I think for all businesses out there at the moment, there's a whole range of data and numbers that they can look at, but it might be hard for them to find out what is the most important data to look at. So I know a lot of your experience has been around, focusing on particular numbers and data. So what advice would you give in terms of what's the most important, data to look at for businesses?
Yeah, and look, it's a very good question. When I first initially took over, many of my clients in every single business, they were looking at sales only, and they would only determine if they had a good month or not, whether their sales were up or down or higher or lower than the previous month. And as we all know, sales is vanity, profit is sanity. So the main things that we implemented here is educate our franchisees on what are those KPIs, those key performance indicators that I like to call them the Bali numbers. You're lying on a beach in Bali, you look at 4 or 5 numbers, and you know how your business is doing. And so yeah, that's in our business. Of course, each business is different. Each different business has a different KPI, different KPIs. But that's of course you look at them depending on the business. But to me, one of the key numbers that any business should look at is the return on capital employed. And to me, that's where I always start. So a profit of $1 million on an investment of $500,000 is great. On an investment of $10 million, it's not that great. So profit alone doesn't tell you the whole story. And that's where, to me, that key measure is that return on capital. And then from there, that's where I work backwards and look at what KPIs do we need to look at to make sure that that number is healthy and it's what we want.
And in terms of businesses looking to cut their expenditure and their expenses, that's probably an interesting point to look at as well. What advice would you give to businesses who at the moment are looking to make savings in a way?
Look, I think that exercise that we run with our studios, and it's been very powerful because when we came back and we're lucky that we came back and we came back stronger than pre-COVID, which we're very lucky. I mean, from a sales alone point of view, in our Australian studios,
Sorry,
in
yeah,
June,
we'll do. No worries, thanks, Mike.
we're
Oh, so keep
46%
going,
higher.
keep going.
Okay. And so, but again, at the same time, we looked at improvements in the business model, and as much as you can have variable cost in your business model, that's a great thing. It's always been something that I always encourage, more so now when one day you're running at full speed and the next day you're forced to shut down completely. So those, as much as you can make your cost variables, and look at your waste. There's always a lot of waste in businesses, things that get hidden among high sales in good times. And there's always, you don't need to wait for a crisis to run waste audits on your overheads.
And just finally, in terms of looking forward, people's plans in a way might have been wiped out. Maybe they have to start from scratch and try to think differently. What advice would you give to some of those people out there? What have you been able to do in the past in terms of planning ahead?
Look, if you can, it's a good time to invest in your business, to fine tune your systems and processes, and prepare yourself. And look, businesses who invest strongly and who can afford to invest, of course, during all times, but including crises, will come out of the crisis much better and much more ahead of the competitors. But it comes down to businesses who might be struggling with cash. You need to keep a finger on the pulse on your cash flow. And look, one of the things, we're living in a new norm, and try to minimize entering into long-term investments, or something that we are implementing ourselves, have COVID clauses or pandemic clauses in your long-term investments, in your long-term contracts. I mean, every supplier is understanding of the situation, and we are not entering into any long-term contract without a pandemic clause in it.
Thanks so much for your time, mate. Just finally and briefly, how's Celebrity Ink gone in this time? I mentioned earlier that 20 of your studios had to be shut down. How have you guys bounced back?
Yeah, look, overseas studios, they're still very slow because they're primarily based in locations that depend on tourism. So clearly, there's not much going on there. Our Australian studios, we're very fortunate. I mean, and it's a result of all the work we've done. Also, while we were shut down, with our sales up 46% higher than before shutting down in pre-COVID. And of course, we improve our business model, so our profit margins are even higher as well. We were unlucky that our Melbourne studios were forced to shut down again, but then again, we are running business models that are robust across different scenarios, and our franchises are doing very well.
Awesome, mate. Really good to hear. Thanks so much for your insight. Let's catch up again in the future once everything opens and talk business again. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.